It's a Friday morning, October 2nd, 2020. Welcome to the Market Review first edition for this month. We'll be looking at some updates we're having in the capital markets, and let's give you a rundown of what we'll be looking at this morning. The Nigeria Stock Exchange is set to host the Financial Services webinar. We bring you perspective from Don Lauren Merrifield's perspective on securitization. And Honeyflower has appointed a new company secretary. And we'll wrap it up with the NG Clearing Limited getting SEC approval as a counterparty, a Central Counterparty Clearance Limited at CCP. Let's begin with the Nigeria Stock Exchange, set to host industry leaders at Financial Services webinar. The Nigeria Stock Exchange is set to host its Financial Services webinar scheduled for Thursday, 8th of October 2020. That's next week. The webinar is part of a series designed to engage and create awareness and activities in the capital market. The theme is the future of financial services industry post-COVID-19. The webinar will bring together market stakeholders to share valuable experiences in managing the impact of the pandemic, as well as discuss the future of the Nigerian financial market with the goal of charting a route to a sustainable future. The event will be headlined by the Central Bank Governor, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, CON, and the Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Mr. Lamido Yuguda. It will feature a stellar lineup of speakers across the public and private sectors to discuss emerging financial stability risk, the evolving public policy response, and long-term challenges for the financial system. Speaking on this webinar, the Chief Executive Officer of the Nigeria Stock Exchange, Mr. Oscar Onyema, ON, noted that the world is facing unprecedented challenges occasioned by the COVID-19 pandemic. Considering this, the global financial system remains an area of potential risk with record levels of market volatility and growing concern around credit losses and its attendant impact on overall asset quality, capital and liquidity. Governments, regulators, and international organizations have moved rapidly to address the economic collapse and financial fallout, but questions remain around how policy should continue to evolve to preserve financial stability. With the webinar coming up next week, the NSE envisions that the insights gathered will lead to actionable solutions, policies, and measures that can mitigate current and emerging financial stability risk. Some of the other confirmed speakers for the event include Ms. Aisha Ahmad, Deputy Governor, Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Michel Elegbe, MD CEO Interswitch, Mr. Bolaji Balogun, CEO Chapel Hill Denham, Mr. Kunle Elebute, Managing Partner, KPMG Nigeria, Professor Yinka David West, Academic Director, Information Systems and Digital Transformation, Lagos Business School, Mr. Chinua Azubike, MD CEO InfraCredit, and Mr. Eric Idahi, Partner and Co-Founder, Verod Capital. So that promises to be a very engaging webinar, and you can join all the updates on Web TV NG on the 8th of October 2020. Still on the Nigeria Stock Exchange, just to let you know before we go on to the next caption that yesterday was a significant day. The Nigeria Stock Exchange marked its 60th anniversary also and has evolved in 6 decades from the office and its activities. It is continuing its quest to be the leading BOAS in sub-Saharan Africa and is currently undertaking the next move of demutualization, which has been described as a game changer in the markets. We'll be continuing to give you updates on that development as it comes. But the NSE has evolved, even particularly leveraging technology in driving its service and seeking to get back retail investors and connect with the millennials and Gen Zs, who are very critical markets to tap and get. Now let's go on to Honeywell Flour Mills PLC, who have notified the general public on the appointment of Mrs. Yewande Giwa as company secretary with immediate effect. Mrs. Giwa is a legal practitioner with over 15 years of work experience, mainly in the areas of company secretarial and corporate governance practice. She has worked for the Honeywell Group for over 8 years. Mrs. Giwa succeeds Mrs. Oluwayemi Busari, who was the pioneering company secretary of Honeywell Flour Mills PLC following its listing on the Nigeria Stock Exchange in 2009. Another interesting input into the market, and hopefully her experience, Mrs. Giwa's experience, would help to take Honeywell Flour Mills to greater heights. In a recent webinar, the Director General of the Security and Exchange Commission, Mr. Lamido Yuguda, made a strong case around securitization. So let's get to that conversation. And Don Lauren Merrifield, Advisory Limited, a leading player in investment banking industry in Nigeria and a member of the DLM Capital Group, has emphasized the importance of securitization to the economic development and growth of Africa. Indeed, this has now become a new wave in the markets. It made this known in a presentation at the webinar tagged Securitization in Africa, which was organized by the Milken Institute. Speaking at the webinar, DLM Advisory Limited, represented by its group CEO of the DLM Capital Group, Mr. Sonny B. Ayere, who was a panelist, gave a presentation on accelerating securitization in Africa and its benefits to investors in Nigeria. He highlighted some securitization transactions in Nigeria's debt capital markets and gave an example of one of the earliest notable securitization transactions, which was the 2007 FMBN Residential Mortgage-Backed Securities 100 billion RMBs program, Series 1, 2, and 3 bond issuances with a combined size of 56.564 billion naira, all bought by banks and some real money managers. Another notable transaction was the 400 billion naira National Mortgage Refinancing Corporation Residential Pass-Through Bond Program in 2015, which was structured as a pass-through bond with the benefit of a federal government guarantee. Mr. Ayere noted that another form of securitization in the Nigerian debt capital markets was the 20 billion naira asset-backed commercial paper program in 2017 by Mortgage Warehouse Funding Limited. The commercial papers program provides short-term liquidity by pre-financing eligible mortgage loans originated by the mortgage company, the member, the banks, and the qualifying mortgage lending institutions. During the series, he highlighted the role of DLM Advisory Limited in structuring these transactions and said, "We act as arranger, financial advisor, and issuing house, and DLMA also registers, distributes, and sells the securities on behalf of the clients." On the benefits of securitization to current and prospective investors in Nigeria, he said it transforms expected risk into different possible outcomes to suit different investor risk appetites, connects the capital market to the consumer markets, and provides investors with increased diversification in terms of asset classes. According to him, as an investor, if you fund one loan and the borrower defaults, you might not recoup all your principal in a forced sale situation and end up taking a 20% or more cut in principal returned. If you price your lending rates to offset that one-time risk, you will be priced out of the market. In other words, the interest rate will be too high and therefore the product will not work. But if you know that only 0.5% out of 1,000 mortgages will default, assuming a pool of similar debtors neutralize variances in credit profiles, you can price the loans at market acceptable rates that are sufficient to make up and cover for the aggregate expected losses and still make a spread. And this remains one of the greatest benefits investors stand to gain through securitization. Also adding, he said securitization structures allows the lender to calibrate the credit enhancements to offset expected risk, which improves the overall credit ratings. Giving further insight, he said, so a single mortgage may be considered a non-investment grade rating below BBB, for example, due to the risk of default and the loss severity where the defaults to occur. However, a diversified pool might be considered, and this again shows the risk probability, which is now only 0.5%, and so a credit enhanced pool can now be structured to the AAA level. This is accomplished by covering not only the expected losses, but also losses in a severely stressed scenario. On future flow securitizations, Mr. Yere pointed out that the only 2 successful future flow transactions in Nigeria was handled by the DLMA, and stated that it has a relatively short in history in country. He added that the execution of a future flow securitization provides a business with the capital needed to accelerate growth and significantly scale up, since the repayment happens over the longer term and is based on expected future cash flows. He went on to mention that the first successful future flow securitization transaction in Nigeria occurred in 2017 with the securitization of the Combined Expatriate Residence Permit and Alien Card, CEPAC. It receives due to Continental Transfer Technique Limited. It was the 25 billion naira issuance program that was led, structured, and arranged by DLMA. The second future flow securitization in Nigeria was led by DLMA for the Primero Transport Services. Those of you that know BRT buses in Lagos know that they're involved in the listing of a 16.5 billion naira BRT tickets receivables securitization. A 100 billion naira medium-term bond program was arranged and coordinated by DLMA. The future flow securitization allowed Primero to monetize its existing and predictable cash flows from ticket sales receivables recovered during the business. Following the successful issuance of the Primero BRT securitization SPV PLC Series 1 note, the value of the future flow securitized transactions in the Nigerian debt capital market now stands at 33.06 billion naira. Securitization, definitely one area that we must take very seriously and provide the necessary innovations around. So we can see why the Director General of Security Exchange Commission emphasized the need for us to also explore securitization in the Nigerian markets. Speaking about strides and also innovation and making some headways now, NG Clearing Limited has secured approval in principle from the Securities and Exchange Commission to launch a clearing and settlement of exchange-traded derivative products as Nigeria's premier central counterparty clearing house. NG's clearing's role as a CCP in Nigeria's financial ecosystem is to ensure the safety of the market by managing counterparty credit risk, which in turn reduces the systemic risk in the Nigerian capital market by guaranteeing the settlement of trades. Speaking about the purpose of the NG Clearing Limited, the board chairman, Mr. Oscar Onyema, said, "Our main role is to improve the safety of our financial market by delivering best-in-class post-trade services that manage counterparty credit risk and reduce systemic risk. To mitigate this risk efficiently and robustly," he said, "we will interpose ourselves as a guarantor to both parties in transaction, thus ensuring the successful execution of derivatives and other trades from various trade points in Nigeria. We intend to deliver an unparalleled CCP experience for the Nigerian financial markets. The company, in this regard, will optimize the deployment of its resources to achieve long-term value creation for its stakeholders using its state-of-the-art risk management framework, which complies with global best practices for mitigating settlement risk. Its risk-based additional collateral requirements will ensure that capital deployed by clearing members is always optimal. The company intends to deploy a competitive low-cost clearing fee regime for members. The company has sufficient financial resources, including a settlement guaranteed fund to cover participants' risk exposures. Members will have access to a wide range of financial reports that equip them with extensive knowledge and enable them to make informed decisions. Reiterating the company's aim, the managing director of NG Clearing, Mr. Tapas Das, said, "We are playing a key role in the financial market ecosystem in the region, upholding stability and safety of the marketplace through an efficient and timely settlement of derivative trades. The aim is to strengthen the country's investment environments through solutions that systematically reduce risk, enhance operating efficiency, and minimize costs for all market participants, thereby serving as a catalyst to national development." Speaking for the NG Clearing System is Nigeria's first CCP providing the clearing and settlement of exchange-traded derivative instruments in the Nigerian capital market. It is promoted by the Nigerian Stock Exchange and the Central Securities Clearing System PLC, along with key stakeholders like the Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority Access Bank PLC, Consonance Kuramo Special Opportunities, and others, which include Coronation Merchant Bank Limited, Greenwich Trust Limited, Union Bank PLC, UBA PLC, and Association of Securities Dealing Houses in Nigeria. And that shows you once again that we are getting some level of progress in the Nigerian capital market ecosystem. We're looking at now securitization, improving it. Currently, the size of transactions in that regard is 3.6 billion naira, 30.06 billion naira. We're also making some progress now in the central counterparty clearing system with the NG, and of course we're aware of the FMDQ that has also developed its clearing system and has also been approved by the Securities and Exchange Commission. So definitely we are seeing some interesting innovations giving us prospects of a very robust market that we can look up to. But just in addition, the FMDQ, like we said, it was a groundbreaking and game-changing milestone for the FMDQ. It decided that its registration of the FMDQ Clear Limited by the Securities and Exchange Commission. This happened in the course of the week and is a critical and much-needed financial market infrastructure which will help to redefine the landscape for financial transactions as we know it, and will introduce endless possibilities to the scope of permissible products that can be developed and deployed within the ecosystem towards long-lasting prosperity to the Nigerian economy. The FMDQ Clear Central Counterparty system ushers the actualization of the outstanding building block that will enable the development of thriving repurchases agreements, derivatives, and commodities market in Nigeria. And like other developed economies and markets, as a critical FMI, FMDQ Clear as a CCP will interpose itself between two counterparties and consolidating counterparty risk and introducing the much desired counterparty agnostic trading feature, which will catapult the growth of trading liquidity of financial products in the Nigerian markets to international standards. And then, of course, in addition, the CCP, with its robust risk management structures and financial resources, is able to manage the consolidated risk in an operational cost and capital efficient manner that unlocks value for market participants within its value chain. With the foresight of the Securities and Exchange Commission, having actively engaged with market participants for several years on the requisite regulations, robust and world-class rules on central counterparty, this was published in 2019 December, thereby setting the regulatory environment for the establishment of a CCP. However, the final piece of FMDQ's Clear aspiration of evolving into a full-fledged and sustainable CCP was then the legal basis to support its planned activities, netting, and bankruptcy remoteness of financial market transactions. This required legislation in another revolutionary event for Nigerian markets was addressed in and repealed and reenactment of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 1990 Cap C20 LFN 2004 as Company and Allied Matters Act 2020 into law on August 7, 2020. Particularly this new act, which is positioned to set the Nigerian economy on the path of remarkable growth, made provisions for netting and bankruptcy remoteness. Indeed, these game-changing provisions will cure critical legal deficiencies that hitherto affected the development of the financial markets, with the netting provisions addressing the credit risk challenges, operational and legal bottlenecks, or gross settlement for sports and derivative transactions, and the bankruptcy remoteness, which also involves provisions tackling the uncertainty around the finality of settled transactions whilst securely ring-fencing collaterals placed in execution of financial contracts. It is noteworthy that FMDQ Clear, being the first central clearinghouse in the country and having provided clearing services for Central Bank of Nigeria, Naira settled OTCFX futures product from inception with over $50 billion worth of contracts executed, has acquired operational capabilities and experience that rival similar markets internationally, while adapting to local peculiarities. This attribute has effectively and efficiently augured well for the benefit of all market participants and in perfect alignment in the Nigerian financial market regulators' aspirations. So in essence, the market is making progress. We need a much better and proactive regulatory environment, and with securitization and the central counterparty systems, we definitely should have a much more liquid and globally competitive Nigerian capital market. And that'll be all for this edition of the Market Review. Wrapping up the week, you can visit our website www.proshenji.com to watch videos with our news reports and analysis. You can also send your comments to news@proshenji.com talking about securitization, whatever you need to understand about it and your thoughts around it. And of course, the central counterparty clearing systems and the approvals that we're getting, the NG clearing and of course FMDQ clear, how it will help transform the market. We'll be receiving it, we'll open to it, and we'll respond appropriately. This is wishing you a great weekend ahead. Until we come your way again, thank you for watching. Have a nice day and stay safe.